Imagine hiring a world-class biographer, handing them a microphone, and telling them, extract my life story.
Right, like a professional interviewer.
Exactly. You sit back in a comfortable chair, and this brilliant interviewer just starts asking you these perfectly tailored questions. Questions about your childhood, your triumphs, maybe even your regrets.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And now imagine that biographer isn't human at all.
Which sounds a bit like science fiction, honestly.
I mean, it does, right?
Yeah.
But for you, the listener, someone who I know really craves deep understanding and the multiple perspectives, but honestly just doesn't have the time to drown in a sea of technical manuals or, information overload. This isn't some distant sci-fi scenario.
No, it's happening right now.
Yeah, this is the reality of the technology we have available right this second. So our mission for today's deep dive is to explore exactly how to harness that reality. We're digging into a really fascinating mini book by Hughes.
Oh, yeah, it's a great one.
It's called AI. It Never Hurts to Ask a Human. And the subtitle is The Senior's Guide to the Light Way and the Right Way of Conversational Intelligence.
Right. And, Hughes is the founder of the AI Super Campus. And what makes his approach so vital, I think, is that he completely discards the traditional playbook for learning new technology.
He really throws it out the window.
He does. Because whenever a major shift happens, like the dawn of the internet or smartphones, we just assume there's going to be this steep, frustrating learning curve.
Oh, definitely. Like we have to learn to code or something.
Exactly. We assume we have to adapt our human behavior to suit the limitations of the machine. But Hughes presents this core paradigm shift. He says we aren't here to learn computers anymore.
Which is such a relief.
I mean, truly. We are here to rediscover the power of our own voice. We're moving away from treating a computer like a calculator and starting to treat it like a collaborator.
And that brings us to this central concept he introduces, which he calls the light way.
The light way, yeah.
The premise here is that interacting with AI shouldn't feel like you're some programmer frantically typing lines of code into a terminal in a basement.
Right, like hacking the mainframe.
Yeah. It should feel like you're leaning over the fence just talking to a friendly neighbor.
A very, very smart neighbor.
A neighbor who just happens to have read every book in the world, analyzed every data point, and is sitting there patiently waiting to help you sort through your thoughts.
It's a nice image.
It is. But to get to that level of ease, we have to fundamentally change how we physically interact with the machine. We have to transition from asking, how do I click this?
Yeah.
To asking, can you help me understand this?
That's the key right there.
And Hughes makes a really bold point right out of the gate to force this transition. He says typing is optional.
Yeah, and decoupling the keyboard from the computing experience is, it's a massive psychological leap for a lot of people.
For sure, because we're so used to it.
Exactly. For decades, the keyboard and the mouse have been the gatekeepers to digital power. If you couldn't type well, or if you, didn't know where to click, you were locked out.
You were just stuck.
Right. But Hughes argues that voice commands are the true bridge between your thoughts and the machine. When you speak, you remove all that mechanical friction.
So we're hunting and pecking.
Yeah. You eliminate the worry about typos or figuring out where the search bar went after an update. You just express a thought out loud, and the machine responds. It creates what he calls a mutual exchange.
A mutual exchange. I like that.
Yeah, the AI basically becomes a predictive partner in a fluid conversation.
Okay, let's unpack this because I really want to look at the reality of that interaction.
Yeah.
Relying on typing and clicking to use conversational AI today is, it's like having a state-of-the-art smartphone in your hand, capable of instant global connection, but insisting on using it to tap out Morse code on a telegraph machine.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
Right. It completely misses the magic of the tool. But I do have to push back a little bit on behalf of anyone who has actually tried this.
Oh, absolutely. It's not always perfect.
No. Because if I just open my laptop, start speaking naturally about a complex topic, say the implications of quantum computing, or even just asking for advice on, planting a garden, my immediate fear is that the machine is going to spit out a 40-page wall of dense academic jargon.
Which happens a lot.
It does. And if I get an encyclopedic data dump, I'm just closing the laptop in frustration. I mean, how does simply speaking naturally prevent that from happening?
Well, the short answer is speaking naturally alone doesn't prevent it.
Okay, so there's a catch.
There is a catch. What prevents it is how you frame your natural speech. This is where Hayes introduces the Socratic method into the process.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he calls it active inquiry. You aren't just barking commands into a void. You have to actively mold the conversation by providing context.
Because the AI doesn't know anything about me.
Exactly. The AI does not know who you are. If you walk up to a university professor and just say the word botany, they might launch into a 3-hour postgraduate lecture.
Right, because they don't know what you want.
And the AI does the exact same thing. But if you provide the context, if you say, I'm a retired teacher, or I have never planted a seed in my life and I want to start a small backyard garden, the predictive partner instantly adapts.
Oh, wow. So it changes its whole approach.
Completely. Its entire vocabulary, tone, and pacing shift to suit you. You are in control of the depth.
But what if the machine still manages to overcomplicate things? Because, sometimes they do just show off.
They do get a bit wordy sometimes, yeah. But then you just leverage active inquiry to demand simplicity.
Oh, so you could just tell it to stop.
Yes. Hayes emphasizes that there is absolutely no shame in telling the machine, I don't understand.
I love that.
Right. You just say out loud, explain that to me like I'm 10 years old. Or give me an analogy using cooking.
And it actually does it.
Instantly. The machine will immediately reframe the concept. You really have to unlearn the habit of feeling stupid when technology confuses you.
Which is hard for a lot of us.
It is, but with conversational AI, confusion isn't a failure on your part. It's literally just a prompt for the machine to do a better job explaining.
Which really brings us to the underlying mechanics of all this. Because if giving the machine context and actively asking it to change its tone works so flawlessly, we need to understand the invisible logic making that happen.
Right, peeking under the hood a bit.
Yeah. Why does providing that personal background matter so much? Hayes uses the phrase, context is queen. But what is actually happening to our words once they leave our mouths and enter the machine?
So, to understand why context is queen, we have to stop anthropomorphizing AI.
Which means stop treating it like a person with a brain.
Exactly. We have this tendency to think the machine knows things in the same way a human reads a textbook and stores a memory in their head.
Right.
But it doesn't. An AI language model does not know a single fact.
Wait, really? Not a single fact?
Not one. At its core, it is an incredibly advanced prediction engine. It calculates probabilities.
Okay, I'm trying to wrap my head around that.
Think of it like this. Think of every conversation you have with it like pouring 1,000 jigsaw puzzle pieces onto a table.
Okay, a big messy pile of pieces.
Right. If you don't give the AI any context, it's just blindly trying to jam pieces together based on mathematical patterns.
That sounds chaotic.
It is. But when you provide context, when you say, I am a beginner looking for a simple explanation, you are basically building the entire border of the puzzle.
Oh, you're establishing the edges.
Yes, you are establishing the structural constraints. And because of those constraints, the engine narrows down the probabilities. It knows exactly which word is mathematically most likely to fit next.
So it's just predicting the next word.
It is constantly predicting the next right word based exclusively on the conversational border you establish.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because, wait, so the AI doesn't actually know the history of the moon landing. It's just predicting words. That sounds entirely like it's just guessing at a highly sophisticated level.
That's essentially what it is.
But doesn't that fundamental mechanism mean it's going to put the wrong puzzle piece in sometimes? Doesn't it mean it's going to be factually wrong?
What's fascinating here is that, yes, it will absolutely be wrong sometimes.
Okay, so it does make mistakes.
All the time. Because it is predicting probabilities based on vast oceans of data, it can predict a sequence of words that sounds incredibly confident, grammatically flawless, and yet is completely factually incorrect.
Which is dangerous.
It can be. And Hayes calls this out explicitly. The instinct for most people is to see a mistake, declare the technology broken, and walk away.
I've done that.
Most of us have. But Hayes flips that reaction on its head by introducing the concept of the refining talk.
The refining talk.
Oh, great. A machine making a mistake isn't a fatal flaw. It's an invitation to refine the border of your puzzle.
I love that framing, the refining talk.
It completely changes the dynamic, doesn't it? If the AI says something that seems off, you don't just accept it. You tell it out loud, that doesn't sound right, or, are you sure about that date?
So you argue with it a little bit.
Exactly. Correcting the machine is a two-way street. It is an active partnership. Hayes stresses a really fundamental rule for anyone feeling intimidated by this technology. He says, if you can ask a question, you are already an AI expert.
Because asking questions is how you steer it.
Yes. Asking the question and questioning the answers is the very mechanism that drives the engine forward.
And because it is a predictive engine rather than a static database, it isn't locked into dry encyclopedic formats.
Right. It doesn't have to sound like a textbook.
No. Hayes suggests leaning into this flexibility by using what he calls storytelling as education.
Oh, this is one of my favorite parts.
It's so cool. Let's say you want to learn about the Apollo 11 mission. You don't have to read a dry timeline of events on Wikipedia. You can use your voice to ask the AI, tell me the history of the moon landing as if it were a suspenseful mystery novel.
And because the engine is predicting the next word based on the new parameters of mystery novel, it instantly weaves historical facts into a narrative.
Which makes it so much more fun.
Way more fun. It adds pacing, atmosphere, and tension. You might read about the tense silence in mission control as the fuel gauge dropped, but written like a thriller.
Wow.
Yeah, it transforms the acquisition of information from a tedious chore into pure entertainment. And, the human brain absorbs and retains information far better when it's wrapped in a narrative.
Definitely. And Hayes takes that educational component even further into daily life. He outlines something called predictive education.
Right, building a routine.
Yeah, he suggests building a morning bot ritual. Imagine waking up, and instead of doom-scrolling social media or letting a cable news channel dictate your mood, you ask your AI, what should I know today based on my interests in local politics and renewable energy?
That's so empowering.
It is. Or you use it for mental fitness. You can tell it, debate me on the merits of electric vehicles and play the role of a harsh skeptic. Or even just give me a logic puzzle to solve over my coffee.
See, we are talking about a profound historical shift in how humanity consumes media here.
How so?
Well, for the last 70 years, our relationship with screens has been almost entirely passive.
Right. We just watch.
Yeah. We sit on the couch, we turn on the television, and the broadcast just washes over us. We take whatever the programmers decide to give us.
We are just passive receptacles.
Precisely. But with conversational media, we step out of that passive role and become active creators.
Active creators. That's a huge shift.
It's massive. You aren't just watching a broadcast anymore. You are actively shaping the media you consume in real time.
I really want to look closely at how Hayes applies this active creation, because it goes far beyond morning puzzles. He details a concept he calls the living book.
The living book. This is brilliant.
It really is. Think about the last time you saw a dense 40-page article about a change in tax law, or maybe a highly technical scientific study about cholesterol.
Oh, yeah. My eyes just glaze over.
Exactly. Most of us read the headline and move on because the text is impenetrable. But with the living book approach, you feed that dense article into the AI and give it a prompt like, what are the 3 most important takeaways from this document, and why should I care about them as a retired homeowner?
You are basically forcing the machine to synthesize complex static information and personalize it specifically for your life context.
Which is incredible.
It is. You are essentially having a dynamic conversation with the news. The document is no longer a dead block of text. It is alive, capable of answering your specific questions about its contents.
But I think the absolute pinnacle of this active creation, the application that really just stopped me in my tracks, is what Hayes calls legacy building.
Oh, this part is so beautiful.
It's amazing. Using conversational AI to help write your memoirs.
Yeah.
Many people, especially seniors, possess a lifetime of incredible, historically rich stories. But the prospect of staring at a blank Microsoft Word document and, trying to write a book from scratch is completely paralyzing.
Well, because it requires an entirely different skill set to author a book than it does to live a fascinating life.
Exactly. Being a great storyteller at a dinner party doesn't mean you can write a 300-page manuscript. But legacy building flips the traditional script of computing entirely.
It really does.
Usually we interrogate the machine for facts, like
Right.
what is the capital of France?
Right.
But in legacy building, you instruct the machine to interrogate you for memories.
Yes.
This goes back to our opening scenario. You are hiring a world-class biographer whose only job is to ask you the perfect prompts to pull your life story out of your head.
So you just tell it what to do.
Yeah, you speak to the AI and say, act as a professional biographer. I want to write a memoir about growing up in Chicago in the 1960s. Ask me one question at a time to draw out my memories.
And it just starts interviewing you.
It does. And the machine will start with something really evocative. It won't ask for a dry timeline. It will ask, what did your kitchen smell like on a Sunday morning when you were 10 years old?
Oh, wow. That's so specific.
Right? And you just answer out loud. Then the machine takes your spoken memory, refines it into a beautifully written paragraph, and asks the next question.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you can see how radically this transforms our emotional relationship with technology.
It becomes something so much more meaningful.
It really does. The computer is no longer this cold, isolating device used strictly for utility or passive distraction. We are using it to actively curate our lives, to preserve our personal histories, and forge these living books for our families. It elevates the machine into a tool for human legacy.
It's a beautiful, empowering vision. But we do have to address the shadow side of this.
We definitely do.
Because anytime a technology becomes this intimate, anytime it can converse this naturally and mimic human interaction so flawlessly, it opens up entirely new vulnerabilities.
It opens a lot of doors for bad actors.
Yeah. We've established how to treat this AI like a friendly, omniscient neighbor. But what happens when the neighbor we are talking to is not friendly? What happens when that conversational power is weaponized?
That is the crucial, non-negotiable pivot in Hayes' curriculum.
We have to talk about the dark side.
We do. Once you understand the immense power of conversational intelligence, you must also understand that bad actors, scammers, criminals, syndicates, they understand it just as deeply.
Probably more deeply in some cases.
Unfortunately, yeah. He dedicates a really vital section of the book to this, calling it the automated stranger.
Because modern criminals are no longer just trying to guess your passwords or hack your firewall. They are hacking conversations.
Exactly. They are exploiting the exact natural language capabilities we've been praising this whole time.
So how does that work?
Well, criminals use AI to write incredibly convincing, grammatically flawless, highly personalized emails that look perfectly official.
So no more weird spelling errors from a prince in another country.
No, those days are gone. They mimic the exact tone of your bank or the IRS or a medical provider. But the evolution that is most concerning is voice cloning.
This part is terrifying.
It really is. A bad actor can take a 3-second audio snippet of your grandchild from a public social media video, run it through an AI generator, and call your phone.
Wait, just 3 seconds?
Literally 3 seconds. And it will sound exactly like your grandchild in tears, claiming they are in distress and need immediate help.
It is terrifying because it bypasses all of our logical, technological defenses and goes straight for our deepest emotional triggers. We hear a loved one in pain, and our brain just short-circuits. But thankfully, Hayes doesn't just present the fear. He provides a remarkably clear, actionable framework for spotting these automated strangers.
Right, he gives us tools.
He does. He outlines the red flags. And the absolute biggest one is urgency. If any conversation, whether it's a phone call from a relative or an email from an institution, suddenly feels rushed, panicked, or demands immediate action, that is a massive red flag.
Because criminals understand human psychology.
They know how we tick.
They do. They know that if they give you 5 minutes to sit down, take a breath, and think logically about the situation, you will realize it is a scam. They have to manufacture panic to keep you off balance.
So what does this all mean? It means you have to start treating that manufactured sense of urgency exactly like a flashing check engine light on a car's dashboard.
Oh, that's a great way to think about it.
Yeah. If you are driving down the highway and that red light starts flashing, your instinct isn't to speed up.
No, you slow down.
Your instinct is to pull over, stop the car, and assess the problem. If a digital conversation suddenly feels rushed or frantic, you need to pull over immediately. You stop engaging.
And that urgency is almost always the precursor to what Hayes calls the ask.
Right. They want something.
Always. Criminals go through all this effort cloning voices, writing elaborate scripts for one of 3 specific goals. He calls them the 3 keys.
The 3 keys. Okay.
Eventually, the automated stranger will ask for money, they will ask for passwords, or they will ask for personal identity information, like a social security number or a mother's maiden name.
So the moment that check engine light of urgency comes on and is quickly followed by a demand for one of those 3 keys.
Well, you are dealing with an automated stranger.
Exactly.
This raises an important question, though.
What's that?
Well, a listener might be thinking, if the voice on the phone sounds completely indistinguishable from someone I love, and they are begging for money because they're in trouble, how do I actually verify it in the moment?
Right.
I mean, how do you protect yourself when the cloning technology is fundamentally perfect?
And this is where the genius of the book's title comes into full view. It never hurts to ask a human. Hayes introduces the ultimate defense mechanism against AI deception. He calls it the human firewall.
The human firewall. I love this concept.
Me too. It relies on the one thing artificial intelligence cannot generate.
Right. Because technology can flawlessly mimic a voice, it can perfectly replicate a conversational tone, and it can even scrape the internet to use the specific vocabulary someone favors. But a machine cannot mimic a genuine, unrecorded, shared memory.
That is the ultimate trump card. If a conversation feels off, if that manufactured urgency is there and the caller is asking for money, Hayes says you immediately stop talking to the machine. You hang up the phone.
Just hang up.
Just hang up. You break the digital connection.
Yeah.
Then you reach out to a trusted human friend. Or you call your family member back directly on the number that you know belongs to them.
Right. Verify it independently.
And if you are still unsure, you ask a question only the real person would know the answer to, not something public like, what high school did you go to?
Mm-hmm.
Because the AI can find that.
Right. It has all the public data.
Exactly. You ask about a shared memory, like what was the name of the stray dog we found on that camping trip when you were 10?
It is a brilliantly grounding defense strategy. In a world of infinite artificial intelligence and perfectly cloned digital strangers, the most secure firewall ever invented is authentic human connection.
Which is so poetic.
It is. You verify the digital world through humanity. The rule is simple. If the conversation turns to fear or finances, break the digital connection and establish a human one.
It is such practical security advice, but it carries this deeply profound philosophical weight at the same time. All right, we have covered an immense amount of ground today, navigating the bridge between humans and this new predictive technology. Let's do a quick recap of the journey Hayes takes us on.
Sounds good.
We started by putting down the keyboard. We learned that using our voices and talking instead of typing is the foundation of the light way.
Right. And from there, we embraced the Socratic method and active inquiry. We learned the mechanics of the prediction engine, the whole jigsaw puzzle analogy, and realized that we must provide context.
Context is queen.
Exactly. We learned that we can demand simplicity from the AI, asking it to explain complex topics like we're 10 years old without any shame whatsoever.
Then we evolved from being passive consumers of broadcast media to active creators. We used the conversational engine to synthesize dense news into living books, and even explored how to use it as a biographer to build our own legacies.
And finally, we established a human firewall. When faced with an automated stranger creating urgency around finances or fear, we learned to hang up, pull over, and verify the truth with a trusted human being.
It really all culminates in a beautiful graduation message from the AI Super Campus. Hayes writes, "You have completed the first step. You have learned that the light way is the way of the heart. AI is just a new language for an old human tradition, the art of conversation. Welcome to the future. You belong here."
Welcome to the future. You belong here.
I cannot think of a more welcoming, inclusive way to frame a technological shift that so many people initially find intimidating.
It's very reassuring.
It brings us right back to the realization that we aren't learning how to operate a mechanical bulldozer. We are just rediscovering the power of our own words. But unpacking all of this leaves me with one final provocative thought for you to mull over as you go about your day.
Oh, what's the thought?
Think about the specific skills Hayes is demanding we practice to successfully interact with this machine.
Okay.
To get good results from AI, we have to practice active inquiry. We have to be crystal clear about our own context and biases.
Right.
We have to patiently refine misunderstandings without losing our temper. And we have to constantly practice the Socratic method of asking good, probing questions to get to the underlying truth.
Wait, those are the exact skills of a highly effective human conversationalist?
They are. So here's the question I want to leave you with. Is it possible that by practicing how to talk to these machines effectively, well, not ... but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get you.
By learning how to clearly state our needs, ask for clarification, and engage in patient mutual exchange, is it possible that talking to machines might actually make us better, more empathetic listeners when we turn around and talk to other humans?
Wow, I love that.
It is a communication muscle we are actively building, and maybe, just maybe, the machine is simply the gym where we go to work out.
That is an amazing way to look at it.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep your curiosity alive. Remember that it never hurts to ask a human, and keep that bridge to the future open. We'll catch you next time.